From the studio of WTAP Plus, you're watching Women of the MLV with host Phyllis Smith.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Women of the Mid-Ohio Valley. I have a special guest with me today. It is Jessica Lynch. She is a Wirt County native, and she was a POW, and now she's a motivational speaker, and she substitute teaches. And Jessica, we have had quite the time. That was kind of a good, like icebreaker.
It was,
trying
absolutely.
to calling my boss while he's mowing his lawn, trying to get this all technically off the ground. So I appreciate your patience very, very much. So I would love to know more about you. We actually had a story about you yesterday for This Day in History about your welcome home, and I saw you actually commented on the post.
I did. Thank you.
And I know we've talked to you a lot throughout the years, and it was just the anniversary of your rescue. So homecoming. And so I would love to talk to you more about that. I know people have probably asked you lots of questions. So can you kind of just walk us through how did you get into the service?
So
we'll take it all the way back to the
so we are
all
taking it all the way back.
Yeah.
I actually had no plans of going into the service. It wasn't something that was on my radar. It wasn't something that I had ever really thought about. It just so happened that I graduated in 2001. So that summer, as I was sitting at my family's home with my brother and sister. So my brother is a year older than I am and was home from his first year of college. And then my sister's a year and a half younger. So, we were just kind of sitting at our family home, and an Army recruiter happened to stop by and give us a little visit. And just talking with him, I don't know, everything kind of just aligned up. And my brother and I were like, okay, you know what, this is kind of an easier way to kind of go through college and have it paid for. So we understand, there's scholarships, there's grants, there's all of that stuff. But this was our way of being like, okay, let's do this, kind of take that, financial burden off of all of us. And we get to serve our country at the same time.
So you and your brother both?
Yeah, my brother and I signed up together, and I believe it was like July 20th. So just a few days ago, that would have been like our anniversary of actually signing up.
Wow.
And then he left in August of 2001 for basic training, and then I left the week after 9/11 for basic training.
Gosh,
so, yeah,
I can just imagine what that was like.
There's a lot of nerves, I guess, because again, it was the week after when things were still raw with 9/11, where everyone was kind of still a little unsure, but the patriotism, all of that was there. So it felt okay. Like it felt normal. Like things were kind of getting back to the way they were before 9/11. But at the same time, I was still scared. I had to get on a little air puddle jumper out of Beckley. So being on an airplane for the very first time was scary the week after 9/11.
Absolutely.
Just everything, I guess, about joining at that very moment was a little nerve-wracking.
And you were so young too, like right out of high school.
Yeah, I was 18, so that's normal for most people to go in.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a good time. We thought, again, when we signed up in July, it was still peacetime. We didn't think anything of it. We assumed at some point we would probably see some kind of overseas action, whether it was war or just being deployed. We just didn't realize that so soon after us joining that 9/11 would occur.
Right. Did you both go to Iraq?
Yeah, so not at the same time. So my brother did actually 5 tours over in Iraq,
wow.
and then 2 in Afghanistan. So yeah.
Wow. So you signed up, and then did you head straight to Iraq?
No. So you go through still your trainings and everything. So I went to Fort Jackson, South Carolina, where I did my basic. and then to Fort Lee in Virginia, where I went to quartermaster school to become a supply clerk, and then to my active duty station out in El Paso, Texas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
a little bit of a time lapse there, but I mean your normal trainings, and then I was in my unit for about a year
Oh, yeah.
before we deployed. So I got out there in February of 2002, and then we deployed in February of 2003.
And then it was it March that you?
March of 2003. There we go.
Mhm.
March of 2003. So March 20th is kind of when everything kicked off. So all of us were supposed to cross the border over into Iraq. And then at that point, I mean, we thought that we were, I don't want to say safe, but you felt a little more secure because we were with so many others crossing at the same time. So it was, my unit with hundreds of others that we were all just kind of pushing across the border at the very same moment. And it wasn't until probably the next day, because everything kind of ran very smoothly crossing over. We didn't, come across any issues like what we anticipated, because again, we really weren't for sure what was going to happen once we left Kuwait over into Iraq. But yeah, I mean, it was probably the very next day, so probably March 21st, or early March 22nd, that we ended up getting separated from the larger convoy. My commander separated our unit. My 507th Maintenance Company, we were split. So 31 of us were to stay behind, while the rest of my unit pushed on with the larger convoy. So a very small group of us stayed behind, and unfortunately, we got lost. We got separated. We could not find our way. Our GPSs quit working. Our handheld radio communication devices, everything like that, just completely failed us. So all we had was paper maps. But when you are out in the middle of a desert with no road signs, no buildings, no landmark, yeah, I mean, and we're literally in desert, like sand, not on main roads. So it was, it's not like you could look at it and be like, oh yeah, there we are, right in the middle of the.
Where you are, yeah.
So it was a hard moment at that time to try to figure out where we were. So we spent a lot of time kind of doing, not literal circles, but like being lost out there and just kind of figuring out, all right, well, nope, that didn't work, so let's turn around, let's go this way. Nope, that didn't work. Until eventually on the morning of March 23rd, we think that we find the rest of the convoy. We see lights up ahead of us, the whole 9 yards, and we're like, all right, that's them. We get up to it, and unfortunately, it was not the rest of our convoy. They had already pushed through. Basically, the day before, they had already left us. So what we were seeing was kind of the early morning lights of the city of Nasiriyah. So at that point, once we crossed the Euphrates River Bridge, we knew that we had kind of made a mistake. So we tried to stop, get our bearings, and by time we kind of moved a little further into the town to turn around, it was too late.
Oh.
Yeah. It was too late. We were being attacked in a surprise ambush attack.
Oh. And you were hurt pretty badly.
Yeah. So what happened was we were hit by an RPG. The vehicle that I was riding in was driven by my best friend, Lori Paestua. We were hit on the right side of our vehicle. RPG, we lost control of the vehicle and ended up slamming into the back of a disabled 18-wheeler, the trailer of it. So kind of on impact, we're not sure exactly what all the injuries were from the ambush and which were part of them beating me. So I was the only survivor out of my vehicle. So I was knocked
Really?
unconscious, and unfortunately, the other 4 did not make it. So we can't determine, yep, this is what caused this or that, because of, again, I was the only survivor. So yeah, once the ambush kind of subsided and came to a end, the couple of Iraqis, they would come around and determine, who was KIA, and they would take the fallen, and they buried them in shallow graves. And for myself, which again I was unconscious but still alive, so they ended up taking me to one of Saddam's palaces and stripped me of all my military gear, and then we know that they did snap my right arm. We, obviously with x-rays and everything, we were able to determine that the break was consistent to a snap and not just a broken arm. And then my left tibia, there was an indent, and my tibia was cracked and broken from a metal pipe object that was found laying near my uniform. So everything else we're kind of unsure about. Like, my back was broken at the 4th and 5th lumbar. We're unsure if that happened during the crash or if that was something that they also did. So I have a cage there. They ended up putting once I got to Germany, I should say, Germany put a rod in my arm, a cage in my back. So the Iraqis removed my left femur bone. We're not sure exactly why. We're assuming that it was broken and probably protruding through the leg. But again, unsure of the complete details around that. That was just kind of speculation. But for whatever reason, the Iraqis removed my femur bone and replaced it with a 1940s era rod that was too long for my body, but more importantly, it was unsterilized. So, yeah, I caught an infection, but it was not replaced, so I spent the rest of my captivity time with that infected rod in my leg. So once I was at Germany, they were able to replace that as well. And then my right foot was completely crushed. I had a head laceration, cracked ribs, and then internal damage.
Oh my goodness, you really went through it.
Yeah, so it was a lot.
So what was it like waking up in the hospital? I can just imagine an 18-year-old girl,
I was 19 at this time. Yeah.
And it just, you've woken up. What was that kind of like?
I think for the most part, the only thing I can really say, it was scary. Like, and I know that, like, obvious, but it was just a unsettling moment where I woke up and I saw these Iraqi men standing over top of me, and as I tried to, like, I guess, like, move, jump, jerk to get away from them, and that's at that point is when I was like, oh, I can't move. Like, I knew that I had no feeling from my waist down. I assumed that either I was paralyzed or I had no legs, because I just had no feeling at all. And that was kind of an also, like, scary moment, because I was like, okay, I don't see any of my comrades. I can't find anyone. I don't hear any other voices, no English. And I was like, okay, it's probably a pretty good, a high, percentage that I am alone. And so, just that very moment, it's an eye-opening, like, oh, okay, like, pull it together, like, what are we going to do about this? But it was almost like, and I don't know if you've ever had surgery, so, like, as you're coming out of anesthesia and you're still in that groggy, fogginess of, trying to come to.
Right.
But then realizing that things are not the way that they should be,
Right.
it kind of wakes you up very quickly of, okay, well, what's happening, what's going on. And I did try to speak to the men that were around me, but of course, I mean, they spoke Arabic. There was obviously that communication barrier that, they didn't understand me. I didn't understand them.
Yeah.
So we got nowhere with it.
When most people wake up, at least, they're talking to someone that, has, the same language.
Yeah.
And so
I did not have that. And again, I think the main thing, if I would have just seen another American face or someone that I was familiar with from my unit or even from my unit, I think it would have just kind of helped just a tad because I wouldn't have felt so alone. But at that moment I was like, okay, like you got to be strong. You got to be able to do this. So that instant kind of perseverance like mode kicked in very quickly of like, okay, you're it. Like you got to be able to do this. So I think that's kind of where from the very get-go, the resiliency and the perseverance side like really just...
Because I can't imagine, like what you may, like what's going to happen to you.
Yeah.
How are they going to treat you? So while you were recovering, were you surprised by did they treat you pretty well? I mean,
for the most part, I mean, there was two different groups of people, obviously, the ones that were in the ambush, the ones that, and we're assuming those are the same group that was in the palace that, took my, military gear, and then of course the ones that were in the hospital. So while I was in the hospital, I mean, there was reports that I was being slapped, but I think that was during the unconscious phase. So thankfully I don't remember it. And I know that kind of sounds weird because part of me wants to remember because I want to know what happened. I want to know what happened to my best friend. I want to know what happened to the others that were in my unit. So part of me is like, gosh, why can't I just remember that? And then the other part of me was like, no, like
it's a blessing.
You were out for a reason. Like, just go with it. Like you weren't too, you're not supposed to remember it for a reason. And I don't know what that is. I don't know why, but I just go with things now. In the very beginning, in 2003, 2004, and probably even close to 2005, I questioned everything. Why me? Why this? Why did this happen? Why am I only, 19, 20, and I, having to deal with so many injuries and, mental and physical and emotional. Like you question everything. And then, 23 years later, I'm like, cool, great, let's go with it. Like, I can't turn back time. I can't change anything. So,
do you still have physical pain from your injuries?
I do. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, again, I've had over 20 surgeries kind of correcting things and then going back and correcting things again. Like my right foot alone, I've had 8 surgeries just on it. And every few years, just the wear and tear. And when I came home, I was about 76 pounds because I didn't receive any kind of food or water during captivity.
Oh.
So and then of course the stress and, just everything your body is going through in that very moment. But, you don't eat for 9 days. You lose.
You didn't eat for 9 days?
I did not have any food or water for 9 days.
Oh my gosh.
So, you just, I think at that very moment too, I was like, okay, I'm not going, you just realize like you're not going to survive much longer. And I knew that because I could start to feel myself fading. And I know that sounds really odd, but I just knew that if I hadn't been rescued when I did, that the chances of my survival probably was not going to be that great.
A lot of people probably don't know what it's like to feel like no food or water for 9 days. I can't imagine.
I hope most people do know and never have to but for me, I think a lot of it was you become numb to the situation, which again, I'm very thankful for because, and not even just in a physical numbness, but just like your mind goes numb. Like you start to put things behind you of like things that you can't control. And that is where I was at during that moment of like, okay, like this is it. Like you still got to be strong. You still got to do this and you got to do that. And yeah, I mean, it was just doing whatever I could to just keep myself occupied because do you know how hard it is to not be able to even communicate with anyone for 9 days and not, understand what anyone else is saying to you for 9 days? Like just all of that alone is a lot of mental stress upon me because I was like, oh my gosh, I hear them talking in Arabic, but I had no idea what they were talking about. Were they talking about me? Were they talking about something that they saw, something that was going on? Like your mind just goes through so much in those moments of like uncertainties.
And you probably couldn't even move?
I couldn't move. Yeah. So I couldn't move. I couldn't set up. I couldn't, literally nothing. Because of the back being broken, I literally just laid there.
For 9 days?
Laid there for 9 days.
Oh my gosh.
So the boredom alone, was enough to like drive you crazy. Like, but I don't know, I found ways to get through everything. And I think it was just that moment of like, again, perseverance. And I say that word so much, but that became my motto because I lived by it during those moments. I was like, okay, you can't give up. Like, you can't give up. Don't give up.
I can't
you gotta keep going.
The mental like fortitude.
Yeah.
Because I could see somebody going the other way and just like completely like cracking up. You know what I mean? Like, so I can't.
Yeah. I mean, it was hard. It really honestly was mentally, physically, emotionally draining. And there was no other way to put it. Like it wears you down of just, again, the unknowns of everything and not being able to move, not being able to get up and walk around when you're bored or, go get you a snack when you're boredom eating.
Yeah. Like, probably, did you even have a window to look out of? Like
there was a window, so they moved me around, obviously,
okay.
somewhat, but for the most part, they hid me in one room, but it did have a window.
Oh,
so,
well.
But didn't really
that's
do me any
not,
good.
That's no consolation.
It did me absolutely no good. But I think, when they moved me out, so they took me and moved me to an abandoned building at one point. And I think at that point was probably even scarier than any other moment because of the eeriness. Like it was in a part of the town that the electricity had already been shut off. So there was nothing going on. There was no one, no voices, no one outside, no cars going by. I mean, every once in a while you would hear like one of the donkey carts like kind of go by, but that was very rare that even one of those. But no American vehicles. Like it was just the weirdest, like I just
Twilight
wanted
Zone,
I wanted something like, and then when it got
familiar.
dark, it was complete. And at that point when they put me in the palace, the two Iraqis that kind of was like guarding me, they left. They were no longer with me, so I was over there by myself.
Yourself.
I was completely by myself, and at one point I was like, okay, do I scream? Do I yell? Do I make noise in hopes that there's an American maybe passing by? What do I do? If I yell, is there going to be Fedayeen or militiamen out there? Like, so all of these, again, scenarios, like, just play through, like, oh my gosh, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And I think, again, it was just the eeriness of just total and nothing. Like, give me something. Like, give me a vehicle driving by. Give me something.
Give me a sign.
Give me something. But, yeah, so then they moved me back over to the hospital, and then I was back in the kind of the same room. They moved me a couple of times, like I said, but for the most part, I stayed in in that one hidden area of the hospital.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think they were trying to maybe use you as like collateral, or do you think it was their...
You know, I don't even know, because there's been so many different stories, especially when I first came home, like the fabricated stories that came out that were, you know, circulating everywhere. But I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if they were actually trying to help me, but if they were, then why didn't... I don't know. There's so many different like ways that I can look at that. I think for what I can say is that I was put in the hands of the right Iraqis. Like, because just like here, there's good Americans, bad Americans, and, you know, there's sweet old ladies who have a heart of gold and want the best for you. And I think that's what happened there is, you know, I was just put in the hands of some good-hearted Iraqis that didn't mean harm to me and was actually kind of looking out for me.
Oh, wow. And then, so your rescue, can you walk us through that?
So that one was another little crazy. Like, I knew something was going on that day, but I did not know what. So it happened in a kind of like a midnight raid.
Okay.
So it was.
And this
it
was
was
on day 9 of you?
Yeah. So this was
Okay.
on April 1st, and at that moment, I could hear, you know, the helicopters, and I could hear Humvees, and I could hear, you know, the tanks and gunshots and bombs going off in the distance, and kind of, you know, all those diversion tactics still to be like, oh, look over here while we do this. But in my mind, I didn't know any of that. I was like, okay, oh no,
Delirious at that point, probably.
I can hear all these noises, and in my mind, I never once thought that they would be coming to get me. What I assumed is that they were there to overtake the building. You know, that's kind of what we do. We go through, I don't want to say necessarily raid it, but we go through, make sure it's secured, and then we move on to kind of a different city. And in my mind, I was like, they don't know that I'm in there. You know, again, I'm 19 years old. I'm from Wirt County, you know, West Virginia. Like, these people have absolutely no idea who I am or that I'm missing. I'm a private at that, so I didn't have any kind of rank to me. Absolutely no way that they know that I'm missing and that I'm being held in that building. And sure enough, when I could hear them get closer and I could hear it in English, I think at that moment I was like, oh my gosh, like, maybe this really is, like, it really is happening. So there was a lot of anxiousness, like nerves also, because again, I was still on E, like, what's about to happen here.
Right.
So I was still very cautious with everything. Not that I could do anything, but my guard was kind of like, okay,
Couldn't get your hopes up yet.
yeah, what's about to happen? What am I going to do if it's turns out to be a fluke? What am I going to do? What happens? So, like, just all those like floods of emotion, like, take over again. I'm like, okay, like, hold it together. You got this. But yeah, once I heard the English, I was like, oh my God, like, I can understand it. I could hear what they're saying. I knew that, okay, like,
That must have been a relief.
Yeah, it really was. But it wasn't until they were actually in the room with me. So I was not in the room where the SEALs assumed that I was at. So it took them a little bit of time to get to the room where I was actually being held. And again, I had those two same Iraqis that were kind of standing over top of me and in that room with me. And yeah, they were let out and kind of taken off to be questioned. And then next thing that I knew, I was just being swarmed with Navy SEALs that were inside of that room with me. And it was one of the
I also
It was the best feeling.
probably nobody has felt, like we're saying, nobody's felt a lot of people haven't felt 9 days of hunger, but a lot of people haven't felt relief at being rescued in a foreign country,
And I hope that no one ever does. Like, I know that sounds horrible because people are like, but, and I'm like, I know, I hope that no one ever, and I know that it's going to happen. Let's be honest. It's war. That's what happens. We have POWs in every era. Like, it just happens. But I hope it never happens. I hope no one ever has to go through what myself and my other former POW comrades had to face. So, I mean, there's that. I hope that we just, I know it's going to happen. I know it's going to happen, but I hope it never does.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't want no one to ever have to experience what I went through.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
But yeah, so just being rescued, I mean, but it was at the moment that I saw a PJ, because he had the PJ written on his arm, but and that's a pararescue jumper in the Air Force. So he's one of the ones that kind of jumps out of airplanes. So he was standing there. He was attached to the SEAL team at that time, but I remember him being the first one to kind of actually speak to me and, kind of bring it to my level. Like, it wasn't, he was speaking at me, it was speaking to me at that moment of like, oh my God, like, they actually do care. They are here. They're here to get me. And I think at that moment of when I heard him say, we're Americans and we're here to take you home, is kind of when I was like, oh my gosh. Like,
I remember there's like
it.
this clip of you like laying on your back and the guy is like, we're going to take you.
So that was actually once I got to the awaiting helicopter. So they were taking me to Kuwait and then off to Germany. But at that moment they asked me if I had the American flag, which I did have from the PJ, and I still have it to this day. I still have it to this day, but he ripped the American flag off of his uniform, placed it in my hand, and I held on to that. And then I just remember saying, I'm an American soldier too. And very quickly they were able to get me to that awaiting helicopter and outside of the Iraqi hospital to kind of safety. But once I was in there, that's when they told me, can you smile for the camera? I will never forget that.
Yeah,
Plus,
put my lipstick on. Yeah,
there's a bunch of the clips of the rescue that shows the part of, can you smile for the camera, say hi to your family, and welcome home. And I think I say it every time that we did not say that enough to our other errors. I mean, Vietnam, we all know that, but hearing those words, I know how much that truly means. Like, and I will never get tired of it because people will always ask me that. Do you get tired of hearing that? Absolutely not.
After what you went through?
Absolutely not. Like, I don't care if 6 people tell me that in a 20-second span, you will never get tired of hearing welcome home.
And those SEALs were there to rescue you?
So it was actually, and it was a group, but the SEALs were the ones that were actually inside of the room with me. And then there was Marines that were on the outskirts of the kind of the town that was doing, again, kind of the surveying to make sure that, it was safe. And then there was a group of, I believe, Rangers who found my comrades' bodies. So all 11 were found and returned back to their families to give proper home. And the other 5 former POWs were also later rescued and brought back home as well.
Oh,
so,
wow.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
So it was a, I mean, other than the tragicness of what happened to our unit, we did have, I guess, some good turnouts. Obviously, I wish that the fallen were still here. I would give anything to kind of go back and change that, but you can't.
Yes.
Like,
was your best friend kind of the same age as you?
she was She was 23. I was 19. She had 2 small children. So I think that's where a lot of my survivor's guilt came from, was the fact that, I don't know. I mean, I was 19. I didn't have children. I had just started kind of my military career, and going back and looking, and I was like, oh my gosh, like her babies, who were 3 and 5 at the time. Well, 3 and 4, but the one turned 5. I just kept thinking about how they're so young, and how they had to grow up without their mom now, like things like that. And then of course, then it starts making you think about the other families, and I don't know. It was hard. It was emotionally hard, but I had to keep going.
Yes.
And as hard as that was for me to admit back in 2003, I had to keep going. I had to keep persevering and just telling the stories, which is why I became a motivational speaker, was to make sure that we keep those memories and their families, and just the legacy still alive, and let people know that, hey, this is what kind of person Lori was, or
Nice.
This is kind of what so and so. So it was, yeah.
I feel like it would be very easy for you to clam up and say and not tell your story, but I think it's a great service that you do, that you
Thank
are
you.
open about it and
Yeah, thank you.
willing to talk about it, because it
Thank
would
you.
be very easy for you to say no, like I'm not talking about it, like not going
did.
back.
I honestly, again, I went my whole, like, high school. We'll go back that, but like I went that whole time just thinking that I was going to be a school teacher, and never gave, I don't know, being on stage a second even a thought. Like, you don't never be like, I don't know, when I grow up, I want to be a motivational speaker. So none of that had ever crossed my mind. So I was always the shyer, quieter kid growing up. I had great friends. I mean, I could be in any group and get along with anyone, but for the most part, I was more of the shy child. So I never imagined like I would have this opportunity to stand on stage and talk about, PTSD, suicide, the fact of, survivor's guilt, things that every veteran faces that we don't talk about enough. So, yeah, I feel blessed and have had a great 23 years of being a motivational speaker.
And I was kind of a young girl when your story. I just remember literally overnight it was just Jessica Lynch, Jessica Lynch, Jessica Lynch. How did you deal with, like you were saying, you're just a small town girl. How did you deal with that? Because literally, like, one day people did not know who you were, and then the next, everyone was talking about you.
So while I was in Walter Reed, so I spent 2 weeks in Germany, kind of stabilizing. So the back obviously was the main part. They had to, make sure that it was secure enough to let me make the flight back from Germany to DC, Walter Reed. So that was about 2 weeks. And then on top of that, I had about another 4 months at Walter Reed doing occupational therapy, going through a bunch of just therapy.
You hydrated and like your nutrition. I mean,
I had to go through all of that. I mean, it was quite a while before I could even eat. Because you can't just jump right into it.
It was like a Snickers or something.
It was a very slow process with that, like introducing me to soft foods, and then eventually to kind of, again, kind of like a baby. You got to take all of those extra steps just so that my stomach didn't. So, I mean, but physical therapy was the main thing, was getting me to be able to set up, be able to walk again, feed myself because, again, like,
You had to learn how to walk again?
I had to learn how to walk because both of my legs had been broken. So it
And
was
your back? Oh my
and my back
gosh.
was broken. So yeah, I mean, all of those things that people don't think about. So that was 4 months of just nonstop. But so while I was in the hospital at Walter Reed, I had no idea what was being said. I was kept
really?
away from all news. I was not allowed to watch TV. Well, I could watch sitcoms, but I wasn't allowed to watch, like,
Everybody Loves Raymond, yeah.
yeah. Friends,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
I was able to watch sitcoms, but I wasn't allowed to watch, you know, news.
Mhm.
They wanted my focus to stay away from what was happening in Iraq and focus more of, you know, recovering phase.
Right.
So point is that I had no idea. I didn't know what was being said. I didn't know any of that. I wasn't allowed, again, to read newspapers. That's kind of a thing in the past, but I mean, like,
Yeah.
I wasn't
One of
allowed to
those.
read. Wasn't allowed reading newspapers. I could look at entertainment magazines, but I wasn't allowed. You know, so like the nursing staff and my doctors did an amazing job of, like, focusing my attention, like, okay, you know, nothing bad, nothing, you know, that would cause a mental breakdown.
Again.
But plus, you know, just being in a hospital setting for 4 months is a completely different, you know, a
Yeah.
whole different ball game too. Like,
Right. Time
you know,
moves differently,
yeah,
I
I
feel
mean,
like,
just,
yeah.
you know, and then you get on a schedule. But once I came home, so my homecoming, that's when I realized I knew that I was different. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but, like, I knew that I had been a POW. But things really didn't click of the magnitude of what I had just been in until the homecoming, when there was, you know, all of even the national news from, like, New York City was sitting there in Elizabeth at our park, and I was like,
Oh my gosh, I
oh
can
my
just
gosh,
imagine.
like, that's Katie Couric. I'm like,
Is that Matt Lauer?
yeah, like, and then, you know, so I'm sitting there, and then at that point is like, oh, like, oh my gosh, like, it, you know what I mean? Like,
It was
so
all for me.
yeah,
Yeah.
like, so I spent the last 4 months protected. And then all of a sudden I get home to this homecoming, which the anniversary was yesterday. And I'm like, oh, like, I am different. Like, I am not just your normal soldier coming back from war. Like, things really are different for me. But at that point is when I realized, like, oh, the stories had
Magnitude.
really, like, just all the fabricated stories. I think that's what got me. I was like, wait, that didn't happen. Wait, that's not how that went down. Like, and then I started to kind of piece together all of the, like, I guess, different versions of everything, of, like, okay, well, this is what someone from my unit said, this is what happened. And then, you know, the DOD reports. And so then things kind of like, oh, well, that's not what the news reported. Is that what happened? Like, so it took me a little bit of time, to be honest, of, like, to
Wait.
kind of yeah, to be like, hold up. So that's kind of how the book came about, you know, to set the record straight of, like, okay, plus it was a huge story at that time, like 2003, like, I was the first female prisoner of war to have been rescued. So it was a huge deal with me being able to come home and survive it. So yeah, I mean, it was a large, I guess, part of me that didn't know how I should feel and what I should feel. And, you know, from day to day it would change. I was like, but, you know, I was sad one day, and then I would be happy the next day because I was alive. And then I would be sad again because, well, Lori's not alive. And then, so, I mean, it was a constant for those first few months of, like, just mixed of emotions. Like,
I can
what am
only
I?
imagine like the turmoil. Like,
Yeah, it was crazy. It really was. But when the homecoming came about, I was like, oh my gosh, like the flags are waving and the people were cheering, and at that moment I was like, I don't even think it's for me. Like, I mean, I knew it was for me, but I think it was in my head. I was like, oh my gosh, like they're seeing their son or their daughter or their parents who were overseas or maybe are deployed at that or were deployed at that time. They're seeing me through their family members. Like, so it was for me.
It was like, but
it was,
bigger
yeah,
than
it was
you.
kind of like a symbolism, like of, you know, like you could see your daughter, of me being there in that car, and you visualizing that's your daughter coming home. So in my head, I was like, oh my gosh, like this is why everyone is coming out. And, you know, so I was, and I think that's how I just kind of adjusted to everything so well, because it doesn't always happen that way either, of like such a change from going from, again, a nobody who was just in the military to an overnight, like everybody wants you, your book tour, now you're hitting the stages, and it was just it was a lot. So in my mind, I had to do whatever I could do to be like, okay, you know, let's kind of turn this, let's make it into something good and positive.
Wow. Yeah, I'm just trying to wrap my head around what that must have been like for you. Was it hard to kind of have to pump the brakes and be like, you know, no, that's not. Was that difficult for you to?
Yes and
there could be pressure around that.
Yes and no. I mean, I had a wonderful team that rallied behind me. So if I was not feeling good, or if I had been to physical therapy earlier that morning, shout out to Mountain River, by the way, they were absolutely amazing. So I started with them in 2003, but Bert Reed, who was the founder of Mountain River, he was like, hey, why don't you just come by and check us out? And I was like, I really don't want to do physical therapy at all, but I knew that I needed it. But anyway, so absolutely, he was absolutely amazing with me. And then, yeah, I mean, 22 years of straight physical therapy, sometimes 5 days a week, sometimes 3 days.
You've been doing PT the whole time?
I've been doing PT the whole entire time, up until last year when I was third degree burns. So I had to take a little bit of time off for that, you know, just because you got to let your skin heal and grow back and adjust. So I've had to take
watch
some
out,
time.
Vegas. Yeah,
right.
don't sit on concrete in Vegas. Yeah.
But yeah, so other than that, it was 22 years of straight physical therapy with no breaks in between. Like sometimes I would get a month here or there off just to kind of let me have a break. Yeah. But other than that, it's been 22 years of straight physical therapy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And now, when your name was everywhere, did you worry about your safety, or did people like blur lines, or?
Yes, I mean, we did have that. I mean, and I've had bomb threats on me.
Oh my
I've
gosh.
had people threaten me. So yes, we've had it all. Quite a few times I've had to call the FBI.
Oh, wow.
And we've gotten that straightened out with people actually being caught. So,
oh my gosh.
yeah, I mean, so we definitely take those kind of threats very, very seriously. So, you know, as you should, if you are any kind of, and I definitely don't compare myself to any kind of celebs, but any kind of, you know, politician or, you know, a high status. I definitely don't look at myself like that. But you have to take those kind of things serious, because you never know who's
Did you
crazy
have to have
out
a
there.
Bodyguard at some point?
I did have one.
That's kind of cool. No.
It's kind of cool. It was actually kind of cool until, so the funny story is when we were out in San Francisco, because we were out at the Golden Gate Bridge, and my driver, so my bodyguard that put me in the wrong vehicle with the driver, and it wasn't even our car.
Oh my
So I got
gosh.
in there and I was like, wow, someone moved my purse and my belongings. Like, that's odd. But, I didn't think anything of it, like, oh, maybe they just hid it under the seat because, we were out kind of, doing the touristy stuff. And then this crazy woman, which I can't even call her crazy because it was technically my fault, but my bodyguard put me in the wrong vehicle.
Oh my gosh.
Put me in the wrong vehicle. So this lady was like, that's my vehicle. And I was like, ooh, that's why my stuff is not there.
Oh my
So, but
goodness.
yeah, I mean, we've had a lot of funny stories at the same time, but yes, for safety purposes, we have had some bodyguards at even some recent events. So,
Oh, really?
so, yeah.
Oh, wow.
But yeah.
So you are a motivational speaker.
Yeah.
And so I'm guessing perseverance is that that's a main topic.
is
yeah.
my biggest. But I speak on anything. Again, everything, and to actually every group even. So everything
just about
from
to ask
schools
if-
to, veteran organizations, so Fortune 500 companies. So you name it, I have probably done it over the past 23 years.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I was going to
Yeah.
ask if veterans were your focus or.
No, not really. I mean, a large part of it is, but no, not all of it. No, I mean, again, I've done. Yeah, I mean, so like a big name would be Pepsi Company. Went up there and spoke to
Oh,
Pepsi.
wow.
So not necessarily is it all just veteran groups now.
So I kind of wanted to ask you, so you're so much more than a POW. You're a mom, you're an author, you're, from Ward County. And I just kind of wanted to ask you, like sometimes people kind of just like, I don't want to make this about me, but like, they just think I'm like the girl from the news and
Yeah.
like that I just identify
Yeah.
as that. Like, do you feel like you want people to know that you're so much more than a POW or... Does that make sense?
I think I've done it extremely well. And again, it's been 23 years for me. So I have tried hard to let people know, okay, so like my teaching, love being in the school systems as a substitute teacher. A lot of the kids around here, so I try not to do high school as much because you lose that authoritative like figure to you when people know you as Jess or
Oh, yeah.
like if I'm out in Ward County, I'm Dakota's mom.
Oh,
So
yeah.
like you lose that kind of authoritative like
They just see you like
stature.
that.
Yeah. So I like my babies where I walk in and they know you as a teacher. So but anyway, yeah. So I love being in the classrooms. I love now working with veterans, and whatever I can do, I just go with it. Like I am 100% open to everything and anything.
Yeah.
I have learned that there's obviously things that I do say no to,
Right.
like where I'm like, that's
Yeah,
that's
probably
not that's not for me.
Not much
but-
probably phases you, I'm guessing.
There's not too much that, yeah, I mean, I'm like, all right, cool. You want to jump out of airplanes? Let's go for it. So I went gator hunting, which
Oh, really?
I never thought that I would do.
Where was
because
that? Florida?
Florida, yeah. I was like, they asked me if I wanted to go gator hunting, and I was like, okay, that's, yes, absolutely, 100%. Let's go.
Well, I know I've had some questions lined up for us, and you just were like, let's just do it. And I'm like, yeah, like, let's do it.
I just go with it. I think it comes off a little more natural than reading from questions. So.
Yeah, and you could be very cagey about what you want to answer, and I love that you kind of just are like,
I think when you've written a book,
it's just all out on the table.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much that I'd be like, no, I can't talk about that.
Mhm.
Well, why not? It's already in the book.
Yeah. Did you do an audiobook?
We did not do an audiobook.
I'm obsessed with
there is
audiobooks. That's
one,
why I
there
asked.
is one out there. There is one out there.
Oh, okay.
But I didn't, voice it. But yes, there is. So the book, because of it being even on the New York Times bestseller
Oh,
list.
yes,
Look
yes,
at that.
yeah.
So once kind of you have it on New York
You
Times,
got to get a narrator.
it goes into an audio version as well.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
So there is out there, and then I mean, I just
And
yeah.
you wrote, what year did you write that?
That was in 2003 by Rick Bragg.
Oh, okay. So you
it
wrote
was,
that like very soon thereafter.
It was, yes.
Would you ever do like a follow up? You think, or get a book in you? No?
Yes, we have
Oh,
one.
yeah?
We have one in the works.
Oh, you do?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I was just digging it.
No. We have
gold.
we have one in the works.
Really?
We are kind of waiting, just kind of making sure that it's the right time to release it. Kind of gathering up all the pictures, and so it's not necessarily about what happened again, but kind of a follow-up of like, journeys and what happens and, things kind of filling in the gap for the past 23 years.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you, was there at one point kind of when everything did kind of go back to like a semblance of normal, or has after you came back, or?
Yeah, I mean, because I took time to go back to school and obviously start a family. And my daughter is 19 now, by the way, which is so crazy to me because she is the age now that I was when I was 19.
And could you imagine something like that happening to your daughter?
I cannot. Like, I look at my baby and I'm like, oh my gosh, like now I know what my mom, and I, as a mom, you feel that anyway, but it wasn't until like now that my daughter is the same age that I was over there, and I'm like, oh gosh, like now I understand what my mom went through, and my dad. I mean, my parents. Still today, they talk about it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is what they meant when my brother and I were both being deployed.
Like, oh my
can't
gosh,
imagine. I can't imagine having two going through it at the same time. So my poor mom, but my poor mom. But yeah, I mean, I look at my daughter and I'm like, oh gosh, like to me, she's still a baby.
Yeah, like in an Iraqi hospital, like by herself. I
couldn't imagine. Like, I freak out sometimes when she goes and spends the night with one of her friends, and I'm like, "Where are you? Yeah. Are you okay? Are you safe? Are you good? Are you
FaceTime me?"
I don't want to be that mom of like
send me your location. Yeah,
where you at? Life 360. But I don't want to be that mom. I want to give her a little bit of freedom and a little bit, but at the same time, today's world is not the same as 2000s. Yes. So I'm a little bit protective of my baby, as most parents are, but but I look at her and I'm like, oh my gosh. But yeah, so things did go back to a little bit of normalcy there for a while. Like, again, I finished schooling and got my elementary education degree and went on even to get my master's.
Oh yeah.
So
we love an educated queen.
Right?
Yeah.
So I keep telling my daughter, I'm like, can you hurry up and finish college so that I can go back? Like, I'm one of those nerds, and I'm definitely not even the smartest cookie that is out there, but I love learning. There's something about like just reading up on things and figuring out, okay, I don't know why NASA is doing this, or I love just like continuing through that like learning process.
You got to keep those wrinkles in your brain,
right?
Yeah,
I love it. So
yeah, well, Jessica, I could talk to you for the rest of the evening. I really appreciate your candor and your willingness to talk to us. I know you had a busy day. You were talking to other TV stations, and you made time.
Plus, I went to work today.
Oh, you did?
I still went to work.
She does it all.
So, most people don't realize that, but yes, I have a 9-to-5 job.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, and when I'm not doing that, I'm
mom?
usually on the road. I'm a mom, but I usually on the road as a motivational speaker or in the office 9 to 5.
Working on that new book,
working on a new book too. Yes. So a lot of projects.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it, especially with the technical difficulties at the beginning of the show. Well, everyone, I can't wait for this podcast to come out. That was Jessica Lynch, and I'll be back next time.